No way. That's fake. Right? Right?
Okay, so today we're going to do another rFactor 2 video. I know I've been on a bit of an rFactor 2 kick of late. I just have been playing the game a lot and working on the dedicated server tutorial, and I want to move on to some other topics now. But anyway, I thought that I would try and do another Isle of Man mountain course video, and this time in the daytime, and include the LOLA T280 that I spoke about in the previous video. And what I'll do is I'll go from scratch. I'll create a server session, put the server live, and then join the session using the new rFactor 2 UI that should go live by the end of this year, and then we'll see how we go. So I'll start by opening up my shortcuts folder, and I'll check first of all for any updates to the server. Server's up to date. Then I'll open up the mask tool, and we're going to create a new server. Now first of all, I have to check that my packages directory is using the correct one. So that's C Racing. Yes, it is, because if you go between the separate dedicated server and the server included with rFactor 2 itself, and if you use both on the same PC, the directories can get mixed. So just take note of that. I pointed this out in my tutorial, but many of us will be using, let's say, the dedicated server application and rFactor 2 on the same PC. I do, even though I have another PC to use, but it's just handy. And what you should realistically be doing is start using one of the versions of the server and stick to that one only. So we'll open up the tool and create a new mod package, and we'll just call this this is for our own references. This is not for the server name itself. LOLA IOM, that'll do, and I'll know what that is. We don't have to worry about customizing the pace car. We're only going to run a practice session. I'll click next. We'll click on Isle of Man mountain course, and you'll see here there's been an update, so I'll run the latest version. Then I'll click on the same vehicles I had last time, so the the Peugeot 207 S2000. I'll control click the Audi 90, the BMW 320 GTO that we drove in the previous video, and I'll scroll down and look for the LOLA T280 that I added from race department. It's not available in the workshop. I'll add the Mac Core mod, and then I'll add the Toyota Celica. I could add the rough CTR Yellowbird as well if I wanted to, but we'll leave that out for now. So that's our selection. We'll click on next, and these are the additional HUD elements you can add as components, which I included in the tutorial video, but we'll leave those out for now because we already have those installed. Then we'll click done, and we want to run the mist course only, so we'll uncheck the standard version, leave everything else as it is, click on package, click on install, mod installed, and done. And then we can close the mask tool. We can open up the mod manager then if we want to, just quickly, and check for the LOLA IOM that we've just created. Check that our contents are there. There's the track and there's the cars. That's it. And the mod package doesn't look damaged or anything like that. Then we'll open up the dedicated server tool itself, and we look for the mod package we've just created. So it's LOLA IOM. The admin password is just for the package itself. You don't have to worry about that. Click to add the vehicles. Now you can see some of the vehicles, sometimes they're deselected for some reason. I'm not sure why. We'll leave the 207 gravel out, and we'll click to add the LOLA T280 to make sure it's included. And on the right here, you'll see all the available opponents, which will be your opponent list and your liveries. Fixed setups, everything else here is fine. Leave the connection speed at the default, and the players, this means that at this connection speed you can have a maximum of 45 players. We don't need to change the settings here. Now we might check the weather. We'll put this as light clouds. Now I had changed this before, so you can basically customize the weather per session, so that's okay. That's the same as before. And if we had more than one circuit variation or circuit, we could change the arrangement of those. Then we click on options. Now I'm going to turn tire usage off, because the LOLA I'm going to run only has either soft, slick or rain tires. So I'm going to turn tire usage off. Practice time will be 165 minutes. I've modified the practice session to just be the normal, and in the previous video I had modified a JSON file so I could run the practice session at 5 in the morning. That's something I didn't mention in the previous video. That's something you can do if you just want to run a non-standard time for either practice or qualifying, because here you can see you can set a race start time, and you can only use the UI to set the start time for the race, not for the practice session or qualifying session. If you want to do that, you have to modify a JSON file in the player data folder on the server. It's quick to do, but you have to do it. And also a final note, this AI toggle relates to allowing the AI to control your car if you want to. A feature I've never used, but this AI toggle does not mean have AI included in the session or not. It's only to allow the AI to control your car, and you would basically control the AI here. So we'd have a minimum of 20 AI and a maximum of 40 for the 45 players allowed in the game, which I assume also includes AI. So the weather type is scripted because we set light clouds for the practice session, and then we'll click on load track, and hopefully this works. Now you'll have to wait a while depending on the size of the circuit you've used and the number of cars, and of course anybody joining the session who doesn't already have any of the content will need to have it downloaded. So we'll close this now. We have the server running, and we'll start the game, and hopefully everything's working. Now this is the mistake I made. So you'll see here that the game thinks that it's already running because I've opened up Steam, and it thinks that rFactor 2 is already running, and this is the mistake I made. So what you should do is you should exit this. Now this is if you happen to be running the server and the game on the same PC, which I am doing. So what you can do is run the game first. So as you can see, the launcher is now gone, and you basically the only option you have is play the game or customize the settings, and you get the graphics dialog that you would have got from the launcher from the previous version or the current version still. So you launch the game first, then you would alt tab out and then start the server, and it's easier if you leave the game in either borderless or windowed mode. That's an easier way to allow you to jump between windows in Windows, shall I say. So now the game has started, and we're in this start screen, and what we'll do here, we'll click on customize. If you click on race, it will start your previously saved session. And so what we'll do is we'll click on customize, and remember yesterday, if you watched my previous video, I mentioned that if you join a server and the content from the server gets downloaded, it gets added to this series menu, which for me previously was blank because I wasn't playing any multiplayer content. And in the same way that you can join the server and download the content from the server, which will be added as a series here that you can also use for single player, you can use the mass tool that we used earlier to create a session and install it and then run it here. And what you could do, for example, is use the mask tool that's included with rFactor 2 itself, not with the dedicated server. Use that to create a single player series based on the content you have installed in the game, and then once that's installed, that should be available here. So what I did in yesterday's video was I selected this Isle of Man Turbo 2 package, which I had used for a dedicated server, and instead of joining the dedicated server, I just ran this as a single player mode. So if I select this becomes available, and then if I go and choose the cars, I will have the list of cars included in that package, if you understand what I mean. So just to note that this had never been obvious to me, but obviously I realized once I started to look at creating server packages that a server package is the same concept you would use to create a single player series. So they're one and the same, so to speak. So I'll go to multiplayer and I'll click on more, and this will bring up the multiplayer list. And what I'll do now is I'll Alt Tab out and go back to my dedicated server shortcut. I can close this window, and you'll see here I already have it selected. So LOLA IOM, my little shortcut format. So we'll click on vehicles. Everything was as it is before. Configure options, and we check that I have our mechanical failures off, tire usage off, fuel usage normal, and we will have enough fuel for one lap for sure. Click on load track, and while that's loading, we can look at some of the features here. Now you have the option to browse between internet, LAN, favorites and friends. And what friends is basically if you have a Steam friend who owns a copy of rFactor 2 and you see them playing in Steam, if you click on filter by friends, you'll see any servers which have a Steam friend of yours in that server will show here. And you can also quickly sort the multiplayer list by the options here on the left. So you can choose by a server that's not full, server that has players, server that is public, server that has the same version, so the same version of rFactor 2 as you are running, and also no AI. There are a lot of public servers available, but oftentimes they look like they have players, but what they actually have is AI. So there's no real players, there's just AI. So if you want to find, let's say we'll filter by a server that's public, and we'll filter by a server that has no AI. So these are all public servers that have real players, and as you can see here, there's 3 players here, 3, and so on, and you can sort them by the number of players, and as you can see, most of them appear to be empty. And of course you can also search by server name if you happen to know it. We'll turn those options off, and we'll check that our server is running. Our server is running, so we'll refresh this list and we'll see if we can find by my name. There it is. I didn't actually check the name, but the name is fine. We'll click on join. Now in this case we have all the content already installed, so we don't need to download anything from the server session. So we'll click on drive, and we're going to click the LOLA. So now in this case, if you look in the existing or current version of rFactor 2, you will see there are images provided for these, but the person who has created the mod has not yet updated the mod to show the showroom renderings here, so the mod would need to be updated. So it basically, if there's no image or the image is incompatible, as far as I've understood, you get this McLaren Senna style car with this covering. So that's how this basically indicates that the image is not available. So we'll just pick one of these, and then it will load. And as you can see here, you don't get the image of the included with the mod. The image that I showed yesterday, which I can show on screen now, which has the map and so on, you just get this image of the track layout, which is like a loading screen progress graphic. So they've basically decided to simplify everything. So basically everybody gets the same, which is understandable. So effectively what it does is it takes an image of the track map and breaks it up into sectors, and as the sectors change color, then the session is loaded, and you'll also get a percentage value up above. And this is the new layout for the session monitoring window. You click on here, you get the full window, and then there are shortcuts here to the different views, which are nice. And you can use the arrows here to switch between the different views for the different cars. Onboard, trackside, spectator, TV, cockpit, nose cam, and so on. So we'll go back to interesting, Sebastian Loeb. Sebastian Loeb in a Peugeot S2000, I guess. So go back to one and me. And finally, the event info panel has this live track map, which I would like to have as a HUD element if at all possible. This will be useful. I don't want a full animated track map, but this would be nice to have if it was possible at all. So we'll check our setup, and fuel is already 55 liters for 2 laps. We'll make it enough for 3. Check the gears, we'll leave them as is. We have 5 speeds, and tires are slicks or rain, so we'll leave them as slicks. We have the tire wear turned off, I hope. We return here, and we can also use this at any time. You can check your settings using this cog item in the upper right, and we'll check the calibration of our wheel. Now I'm going to turn the force feed back down because I know from experience it might be a bit high. So let's put it at 85. We can always pause the game and tweak it at any time anyway. Then go back and click on drive. And is our track IR working? Yes, it is. Now we're going to modify the camera a little bit. I'm going to put on our driving gloves because we're sad. Now for some reason there's one of the cars there with the bonnet or the engine cover removed for some reason. Which is an option in the tuning for that car. That's one of the Group C mods, and the front cover is removed. I don't know why. I know it's an option in the tuning menu. Anyway, now this pit can be a little bit tricky to navigate. You have to you risk going the wrong way and getting disqualified. And my frame rate is currently about 60 to 70 FPS. I don't know if this will render in the video. I have it included in the recording in NVIDIA Shadowplay, but sometimes currently now the frame rate is not being included in the recording for some reason. I don't know why. Now we don't have to use limiter because this car doesn't use it. Now we're going to take our time. No lights needed. So basically this is a live server, and if anybody wanted to join they could. They won't. I'll be on my own, and it's a bit early anyway, but suffice it to say, this is a server that's publicly available, and anybody who wanted to join could. My recording cut out there and I had to start again. I don't know why. I like how the mirrors in the car are they're kind of foggy and faded, like antique mirrors. That's kind of interesting. This car dates from 72. Now we have 5 speeds here, but the accelerator here is a little bit touchy, so you have to kind of ease the accelerator to get the revs up. If you change into 4th and 5th and then try and accelerate out, it basically goes nowhere. We can have a bit of a look as we go through. And as I said yesterday in the video, that this kind of reminds me of Ireland. It's very similar, the flora and fauna and the buildings and so on. So currently I'm getting 85 FPS, which is not bad, all things considered. Somebody was saying that they were trying this, I think maybe it was in single player and their frame rate wasn't great, but for me it's okay so far. The lights are green, which is good. And this circuit was created by Jim Pearson on his, I assume it was a solo effort. It took him 14 years to create it. So, from scratch, which is kind of amazing. I mean, I wouldn't even know how to create a tree, let alone a whole almost 40-mile circuit from scratch on my own. So there you go. We'll take it up to 5th and see how we go. I don't know where all the AI are. I guess they're already out on circuit. We took our time to start. Maybe they were in a hurry. Some of these turns are quite tight. The phone booth there is protected, but it's an antique, I suppose it should be. We can look around as we go through. Well, this isn't exactly VR, but I don't have a VR HMD VR display headset thingy, so I just use a little bit of track IR every now and then. It's funny, everybody says I use track IR for aircraft simulators but not for sims. It must be weird, and everybody says that, and yet I don't seem to mind it. So does that mean I'm strange? I guess it does. There you go. Well, I also get told my driving sucks, so 2 strikes. Anyway, it doesn't stop me. There are worse fools than me online making videos and this kind of thing, so there you go. Now, around, there's a pink house. I guess that's a hotel or guest house or something. This is kind of tight here. Going around. technically you could kind of stop and read the signs because everything seems to have relevant details. Maybe I haven't looked into, there's an info page now about the mod. There's this mist. Maybe, I don't know who Jim Pearson is, but maybe he visited and took photographs and stuff. I guess so. I must look into it actually. Who is he, and why did he actually create this? Of course, now we have this available for rFactor 2 for free. There's that mist, and if you look carefully you can kind of see the outline of it, which was more visible when I was driving with lights at 5 in the morning. But and there's a yellow flag, so one of the AI has become a cropper somewhere. Around here to the left. There's a plane going overhead. No, it looks like, oh yeah, it looks like a 3D object. At least it has seems to have a shape anyway. So I thought perhaps it was static, but I guess it's a 3D model of some type. It's funny, I've learned to recognize the twists and bends of the circuit while I was trying to unsuccessfully create videos about it. I would start and I would be driving and talking, and then wham, I'd be out, and then I'd get annoyed with myself and I'd start again. And that's why I kind of decided to just do a recording of gameplay and do some commentary over it. And then it was at 5 AM and nobody could see anything. And a shout out to Brian if you're watching. Yes, Brian, I agree that everything was too dark, so I decided to give this circuit a proper rendition. Wonder where all the AI are. Have they already finished and gone to lunch? I don't know. You can see now it takes a while for the revs to build up. I'm trying not to crash. Now this won't be a record time on any level, but I'll try and finish in one piece. Although I do have the damage turned off. Now there's this town or village which sweeps around here to the right. Another plane, but no AI. I don't know where they all are. I was hoping to hear some turbo sounds. Or the sound of the turbo wastegate. What is it? There's a sound, a particular sound you get. It's an option in, it's an audio option in Race Room, that you can turn the volume of up or down. I don't recall what it is exactly. It's narrow and twisty. Ah, there we go. Now, where's your front cover, my friend? It's weird now they would do that. That's an option in the tuning menu for the car. You can have it without the front cover, but why would you leave it off? I don't know. Weird. Maybe it's a bug. No, I don't know. This is the village with the jump. You can see the mountain there on the right, the jagged edges of the top of it. Obviously, it's just a low res static image. Almost like you could go in there with the eraser tool in Photoshop and just delete the top of the mountain. It's kind of interesting to look at. But obviously, how these things are created. Same there, you can see it looks so flat. The mountain. Interesting. It almost feels like a background where you would place figures in front of, what do you call it? Have it in EA have it in Star Wars Battlefront, where you have all your ships and characters laid out. This is this tight right turn bridge. I've hit this many times. I've hit those three guys many times. I guess I should attempt to set a record time someday and then challenge somebody to beat me. Although I don't know if I could do a clean run. I could try. This must be a lovely place to drive in the real world. Lovely in springtime and summer for sure. My sister has been to the Isle of Man years back, but I've never been myself. I know that there's the Audi TT, of course, and then there's the Manx Rally and all these kind of things. And I think there's an Audi TT game, the video game, and that apparently has accurate reproductions of the actual circuits as well. Or so I believe. And as I said in the previous video, in the latter half of the circuit, some of the some of the directions are not clear. Seems like there should be more signposts and arrows than there are. It's not always clear where to actually go. Ah, there's the BMW behind us. Let him pass. We've only seen 2 AI so far. Now I know we're not in a hurry, but I thought we would have seen more by now. That looks like a school or something. There's another BMW. Where's the Audi and the Toyota, I wonder? Where's the Sauber? Where's the other Lolas? I don't know. Anyway. Maybe I should have selected more AI. Well, of course, you select a minimum, and that's what you get. And then, of course, you can always add more. I could go into I could alt tab out now to the server dialog, and literally add more AI on the fly if I wanted to. Now this is very tight, so I have to turn here all the way. You could basically fill the server up with AI if you wanted to. Or boot people out. You can basically add or take away, add or subtract. Now we're starting to climb. This might be fun to do as a rally, actually, an online rally or something. Now that's the Mazda, is it? Yeah, this looks like the 787B. There are a few of them, but guess I should have added more. Now this is another very tight turn. Bird there. That bird looks like some kind of static image. I guess there's a lot to be said for rFactor 2. I mean, you can buy a copy of the game, and then now, of course, the quality of the content, the free content in the workshop varies a lot. But you could buy a copy of the game and get install content from the workshop. All you have to do is click on subscribe, and if there's any updates to that content, it'll be served. And you could play for hours and hours and hours just with the stock content and free content from the workshop. you need never buy any DLC at all, so there's a lot to be said for that, I guess. If anything, it keeps the game active, keeps the game going. Now, of course, the DLC content is very good. Most of it, well, except for the AMG, which they need to fix. We've talked about that before. But I mean, I own most of the content, and the tracks are all laser scanned. And of course, when you get a laser scanned Le Mans or Nordschleife or Sebring, you have to have it, so. There's that mist. That mountain there doesn't look so flat, so I guess it depends on how close you actually are to the background element. If it's behind the foreground, so to speak, I guess then it's a kind of a static 2D rendering. So this has been a quiet session. I expect it to be passed by many cars, especially given how slow I've been going, but there you go. But I guess there's only 20 and it is a large circuit, so the chances of not meeting anybody, I guess, are quite high. Turns quite sharply here. You can see then down to the coast and the sea. It's very nicely done, so I have to say. Definitely gives you the essence of what being up in the mountain on the Isle of Man must be like. Although, let's put it this way, I've never been there and I've never driven a Lola, so this is probably the closest I'll ever get. At least right now. Everything's under lockdown again anyway, so I'm sure tourism to places like the Isle of Man has to have taken a hit. Maybe the only visitors right now are virtual like me. There's another Mazda. That's a 787B for sure. This is this Craig Nuba. I don't know if in the Isle of Man do they have their own dialect or something. Kind of sounds like Welsh or something. Craig. Yeah, this is towards the end of it now. Craig Nuba. Maybe they have their own dialect or something. I don't actually know. Build up the revs slowly. status. And this here is this very strange area. I mentioned that I think this barrier was added after, because what happened was I was going straight through there and getting stuck. So I think in the 1.02 update they added that, and I've cut out key. Sounds like a hammer and nails when this one is starting. There we go. So I think they added that there, and this section can be a bit hairy. It's not sure. You're not always sure where to go. And this is around to the left anyway. It needs more arrows like that there, I suppose. I guess those things you would set up if you were having a... Marshals will set up those things if there was actually a race event on. Ah, I see here, there's a sign there. I didn't actually see it, but it should be here on the corner, not there. If you're traveling at speed and at 5 AM in the morning, you're not going to see it, are you? Now we're coming to the end, that's it. We'll try and find the pits, where are they? Pit wall is up here, I think. Limiter. Oh, no limiter. I forgot. 28.59. Now, ignition. And then we'll just turn it off. And we'll see where everybody is. Let's look at the event info. Ah, camera, where is everybody? I'm in the pits. He's out. And there's another BMW. Pits. Sebastian, Seb Loeb still at it. Johnny Herbert's in the Mazda. What's he doing? Oh, he's breakdancing. Or he's having a rave. Weird. That's Mick. Another Peugeot. Yeah, that's John Alesi. Another Peugeot. Another Peugeot. There's a Mazda and a Peugeot. Paolo Rosso. But that's the Toyota Celica. That's the first one actually I've seen. Now that's interesting. Interesting. I guess with so many cars available and perhaps so few AI and so big a circuit, it's difficult to control. And of course, as I said here, you could always go here and you can add AI if you wanted to. And then we go back here to the session, and if we go to here, we minimize this. Yeah, we have more AI added. These guys would basically only be starting when you're just leaving. Yeah, there you go. They're leaving the pits now, you see. So that's it. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was informative, not too long, and me rambling again. And if you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate greatly subscribing to the channel if you're not already, and like the video and share it as well with anybody who you think might be interested in learning more. And also hit that notification bell icon thing. I hope the notifications are working. If you haven't seen any notifications, I'd be interested to know. As far as I know, they are. And until next time, thank you. Bye bye.